Would you describe yourself as a man of principle?
Others will describe me as they see fit.
You've taken a principled stance, haven't you, against the EU? You've been principled against Theresa May's deal. You said it would turn the UK into a slave state, the greatest vassalage since King John. You've said all that.
That's all correct. I think the deal is terrible.
You told me in December that nothing was going to be worse than that deal.
Well, remaining in the European Union is worse.
Well, you didn't say that at the time.
Well,
you evoked slavery. You used language that said there would be no way back.
That's absolutely true. The deal is a bad deal. We pay £39 billion for nothing. We retain for 21 months the slave state that you refer to. And we have an Irish backstop that has no specific end date. This is a bad deal, but it is legally out of the European Union. When we spoke in December, it looked as if the alternative was Mrs May's deal or leaving without a deal. And I've never been frightened of that. And I thought we could leave tomorrow at 11 o'clock, as British voters expected, without a deal.
Okay.
That is now clearly off the table. The Prime Minister has removed it and Parliament has voted against it.
I'm just going to repeat this because it matters, Jacob. You evoked slavery.
Yeah, we
now,
will be.
Of course, people are allowed to change their mind and we want our parliamentarians to be able to compromise. But you didn't say, well, I'm not quite sure.
No,
you said it would turn the UK into a slave state and then you consider voting for it.
For 21 months, our laws under this deal will be made without us having any say over it. That is true.
So you are going to sign up to something that will put the UK into a slave state.
Well, after 21 months, that will end.
You whipped up hatred and fear with language like that. You know what it's like to face
No, frankly,
abuse.
I didn't. That's simply not true. That if anyone's whipping up hatred, it's the BBC, who compared the ERG just last week to the National Front in France. If we're getting silly language, it's from the BBC.
I'm sorry, if your followers
Did not the
hear
BBC
you
say that?
This deal is going to turn us into a slave state. So what do they say now?
They say it's a bad deal. And they see that they have been let down by politicians who promised to deliver Brexit, promised that Brexit means Brexit, and have failed to deliver that. And that, I think, is an enormous disappointment across the country. I'm not going to pretend this deal is a good deal, and I will support it very reluctantly because I think the alternative is failing to deliver on the referendum result at all.
By using language like that, you make a mockery of language, you make a mockery of truth.
I think this is a silly way of looking at it, quite honestly, that we will be unable to make our own laws for that 21-month period.
That's not what you said. You said it would turn the UK into a slave state.
Well, that's what that means.
OK. Well, I would suggest that's quite dangerous language to use if you're then going to turn around and say, actually, I can vote for it.
Well, I can be a slave state for 21 months because freedom comes at the end of it.
You're a slave already. You take your whip from the DUP. You take your whip from the DUP. They're a party in Northern Ireland and you're an English Conservative MP.
I do not take my whip from the DUP.
You're following them to see what you should do next.
The DUP provide confidence and supply to the Conservatives. We are in a close degree of alignment with the DUP. There are many things we agree with on the DUP about, but I don't take my whip from the DUP. I take it from the Conservative Party. I was elected on a Conservative ticket.
Because the Prime Minister is offering you a deal that you can't vote for unless the DUP goes first.
The DUP are obviously the custodians of the Union, that is very important to them. And the United Kingdom is our country, and I think the United Kingdom is extremely important and more important than the European issue, the very nature of our country and what it should be. And the DUP are making their views on that.
I wonder if the truth is actually that you've just been outmanoeuvred, that you're not actually a very good strategist, that you have failed to remove the PM in a no-confidence motion and you've failed to kill a deal.
But none of this is about my being a strategist or my being a tactician. That's complete irrelevance. What this is about is delivering on a referendum result that 17.4 million people voted for. It's not about individuals. It's about the great mass of the British people.
It's not delivering. Dom Cummings wrote yesterday, you lot are Remains useful idiots. So you are actually delivering the opposite of what you wanted.
Well, no, I think Mr Cummings has actually said that voting for the deal will allow us to come out in the end. I think that's correct, and that the backstop is endable. And
I may narcissists.
Mr Cummings has a fine level of abuse. A moment ago you were saying you didn't approve of abuse, and now you're quoting abuse. There seems to be an element of humbug in that,
I'm just asking you what you make of somebody who says that you're Remains useful idiots, because that might be the way that it comes across. Mr Cummings
was a very effective campaigner and very important in getting the referendum result. If he wishes to criticise me, he's Completely entitled
Well,
to.
as it turns out, Theresa May has pretty much chosen her own time to leave. Do you believe the next Conservative leader can be a Remainer?
Well, I thought at the last Conservative Party leadership election that we ought to have had somebody who believed in Leave rather than somebody who believed in Remain. I think to get the second stage of this through, we need somebody who believes in our future outside the European Union.
And you're backing Boris Johnson?
There isn't yet a contest, so wait and see.
But you're minded to back Boris Johnson?
I think Boris Johnson is an enormously capable campaigner who was able to win in London twice. I admire him greatly. But there isn't yet an official contest, so a little patience, I think, is necessary.
Sarah Wollaston, if it does go,